Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Alabama fans coming out of the recruiting trail Saturday afternoon. Five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham committing to Alabama. I think I want to start with just another recruiting victory that gives you so much confidence in terms of what Kalen DeBoer is going to do during his time at Tuscaloosa. You backtrack to 6 months, something that we've talked about extensively. When we talk about this Alabama program, our biggest question mark was, we know Kalen DeBoer is one of the best pure football coaches that we see in the country. Our biggest question was, could he go to Tuscaloosa and recruit at the highest level of the SEC? You look at this recruitment for Caleb Cunningham, it was all the heavy hitters in the SEC. And Kalen DeBoer wins out for one of the elite prospects in this 2025 class. And I mean, Kalen DeBoer has time and time again over the last couple of months shown that he can win these kind of recruiting battles in the United States. And that is the one thing that makes me so confident that Kalen DeBoer is going to win a lot of football games for this Alabama program, really not over the next just 5 years, but 10, 15 years. I mean, it just seems like Kalen DeBoer is going to fit right in with this Alabama program. And you get to Caleb Cunningham, it's one of the most physically gifted wide receivers we see in this 2025 cycle. And where you want to start is what he can do at the catch point. You look at the athletic profile, the background. This is an elite basketball player that averages almost 19 points per game, 8 rebounds, has scored over 1,500 points in his basketball career. You know why I want to point that out? You turn on the football film of Caleb Cunningham, it is very easy to see that he's an elite basketball player, because when that football is in the air, that ability to play above the rim, kind of make those contested combat catches, that's what Caleb Cunningham brings to the table. You talk about red zone situations where those throwing windows are going to be smaller and you need wide receivers to go up and make plays. Caleb Cunningham's one of those guys. I think he turns 50-50 balls more close to 80-20 balls. The body control, the coordination, and then the physicality that he plays with, it's just kind of the next level for Caleb Cunningham. And I think if you're an Alabama fan, you pair him up with Keelan Russell, who's now a top 10 prospect nationally. This Alabama offense is going to cook for a very long time in Tuscaloosa. Fired up to get into the film. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Alabama fans. I can't tell you guys how much all the support has meant to the boys. We've broken down a lot of commitments for this Alabama program. The support means the world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Caleb Cunningham. And I think it starts with just the pure production that he's had on Friday nights at the high school ranks. His junior year, 48 catches, over 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. And as you get into the film, you first see just the ability to go make plays with the football in the air. It's hard to find wide receivers that can be kind of plus wideouts, that can go up and make plays for your quarterbacks. Caleb Cunningham is one of those kind of wide receivers, but what separates him, what makes him, I think, an elite five-star prospect in this 2025 cycle is that's just not only part of his game, right? He's not just a singular contested catch kind of guy. He can do a lot of different things. You see him create separation exceptionally well. How smooth he is as a mover for that size and frame, it's some next level stuff. And then when he has the football operating after the catch, this is a guy that is a load for defensive backs, 200 pounds with elite long speed. And so you're looking at a guy that, hey, he can go win contested catches. He can go create separation intermediately in his route trees. Then he can operate after the catch. There's just not many boxes that Caleb Cunningham doesn't check. And you talk about how easy it is for Kalen DeBoer to get Caleb Cunningham involved in this offense. It's not going to be difficult. You turn in the film, and I think when you start watching the film, you first just talk about what he can do with that football in the air. Red zone situation, if you see this look against Caleb Cunningham and they're not cheating a safety over, you just throw the football up to him. He's going to go make plays. I think he uses one hand here, but again, what you kind of see is the combination of one, just a physical frame at 6'1", almost 200 pounds, working through contact off the line of scrimmage, but then the ball skills, the coordination. That's what makes him so special at the catch point. You can tell that as a basketball player, he's a guy that is very comfortable when that football's up in the air in terms of going out and making plays. You see a lot of wide receivers that are super fast. They have elite movement skills. The ball skills certainly aren't there. this is probably the wide receiver that has the best ball skills that you see in the country. You continue to work through the film. He's a guy that can create separation too. You're going to see a little combination of one. We're going to create separation. This quarterback's just going to throw the football out to Caleb Cunningham. Certainly do not blame him for doing so, because Caleb Cunningham working through traffic, going up, making plays. There's just so many different ways that Caleb Cunningham can get involved in this Alabama offense, and you pair him up with a guy like Keelan Russell. Again, top 10 national prospect, this Alabama offense, it's going to be cooking. You can see what he can do after the catch. And when you talk about Caleb Cunningham, the first word doesn't come to mind in terms of burner, but then you turn on the film and say, this is a guy that if you're a safety and you take a bad angle on Caleb Cunningham, he's going to run right by you. He's a guy that can cook in a straight line. It's probably not the elite part of his game because he's so good at the contested catch points, but man, can he operate after the catch. He's a smooth mover that can really deal well with defensive backs. I'm working on him against the line of scrimmage. He's just too big, physical, kind of physically imposing for defensive backs to deal with. Working through contact, again, operating after the catch. You've seen him work vertically. We're going to operate after the catch. Not much Caleb Cunningham cannot do for this Alabama offense. And you talk about Kalen DeBoer maximizing his wide receivers, getting them involved in the right ways. You talk about a smooth mover, a smooth operator for someone who's 6'1 plus, almost 200 pounds. Look at it, just smooth. I mean, you can't really teach that type of stuff in terms of creating separation, then working after the catch. I think Caleb Cunningham checks so many boxes within this Alabama offense. Again, after the catch, just big, physically imposing. Defensive backs can't deal with him. You take a bad angle, he's going to run right by you. A lot of different ways you can get him involved in this offense. And I think what stands out to me with this Alabama class in 2025 is you start scrolling down the list and say, all right, you got five-star quarterback Keelan Russell locked in, top 10 national prospect. You're bringing five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. This offense, certainly from a skill position, potentially joining them as Kalen DeBoer, another five-star caliber running back. The offensive skill is going to be there. The secondary, it might be one of the more elite aspects of this with Dejoun Lee, borderline five-star cornerback, Chuck McDonald coming from Mater Dei. Again, what stands out to me the most is what they're doing along the line of scrimmage, right? Michael Carroll, five-star prospect from On3. Jackson Lloyd, a guy that I think is going to be an elite offensive tackle in the SEC. They're not only just recruiting the offensive skill positions. This is a recruiting class that checks a lot of boxes. And for Alabama fans, you take a look at the recruiting rankings. Ohio State's still sitting at number 1 with 23 commitments. The average rank of an Alabama commitment right now is 94.2. That is essentially the average, a top 100 national prospect that's going to be on this Alabama program. You talk about blue chip ratio. You talk about having the talent to win at the highest level. Alabama's going to have that. And now you're coupling that with just an elite football coach in Kalen DeBoer. And you talk about reasons to believe in this Alabama program over the next 5 to 10 years. This is the reason. What they're doing on the recruiting trail. If you give Kalen DeBoer, a head coach that just won at the highest level for the Washington Huskies, a team that does not recruit in the top 25, and you give him a top 3 roster in all of college football, he's going to maximize it, and he's going to be competing for national championships every single year at Alabama, just like Nick Saban. We'll close it out there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.